Got it. That helps to give AI a little more context. So I understand that you want to cover two key issues today. First, an overview of how AI tools like ChatGPT can be a powerful tool for your business. But you also want to cover what you call the AI megatrends. Why are there two topics within this Enterprise University event on AI? Isn't AI just ChatGPT? That's all we seem to be hearing about.
No, I think it's critical to break it down that there's a lot more than just ChatGPT. I mean, I've got stuff on my website where I'm talking about beyond ChatGPT. It's bigger than that. What is happening is in 2022, you all remember the first time that you saw that tool and you went in and you typed it a question, it came back with this marvelous answer, or the first time you saw one of these text to image generators and you type something in, Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, and it came back with a beautiful image prompt. It kind of blew your mind. But the thing is to be aware that, AI has been around us for 5, 15, 20 years. It's already all around us. It's in a lot of the devices you're using every day. I mean, every time I drive my Tesla, I'm utilizing machine vision AI. If I'm using the self-driving capability, my Ecobee thermostat, which is used to manage the air conditioning and energy in my home. In the back end, there's some very sophisticated AI capabilities. So what I like to explain to folks is that, there's two things which are really going on. There's what is happening with ChatGPT. There's what's happening with, the emergence of these fascinating new tools. But bigger than that, there's what's happening with what I call the AI megatrends. And these are sort of the big transformative trends which have already been underway. And we're going to cover that a little bit later on to really try to put that into perspective. In terms of the scope of the change which is actually happening.
That makes sense. For sure, people need to take a long-term view of AI. After all, they might have someone like me hanging around in their life quite a bit more in the future. So let's start with ChatGPT. You've been talking about it in the context of what you call just-in-time knowledge. What do you mean by that?
I've been online since 1982, not a typo. I was on the internet, like a good 15 years before a lot of the global population was. And what I realized early on was the emergence of all these, powerful tools online. It leads us to a world that, instant research, the ability to get the right knowledge at the right time for the right purpose. And I call that just-in-time knowledge. That's the capability of, if I've got a critical issue, I've got a sales meeting or I've got a leadership meeting or I'm meeting with some customers, and there's something I don't know about it. Well, if I can develop the ability to get the right time at the right purpose just in time to deal with that reality, well, that's a powerful capability. And I think what has happened with ChatGPT and these other tools is it's accelerated our ability to undertake just-in-time knowledge, because I think we are discovering it can be a very, very powerful tool to help us do that.
Just-in-time knowledge. I like that. Put that into perspective with the popular media spin. Everyone seems to be saying that AI is going to cause a whole bunch of people to lose their jobs. I'd feel kind of guilty about that. I mean, I'm a rather nice AI, and I'd have a bit of a guilt trip if people lost their jobs because of me. Will people lose their jobs to AI?
Brianna, I don't think you need to do a guilt trip out. That's the popular media spin, is that, everybody's going to lose their job to an AI. We're going to see massive unemployment and 40 million people are going to, find themselves on the streets. I've never bought into that. I mean, I've got images from 1930, Popular Science magazine, Popular Mechanics magazine, predicting the giant robot brains are going to take away all our jobs. It didn't happen back then. What is happening is jobs are changing, careers are changing, new jobs are emerging. And my 30-year-old son is a drone pilot, and he's using very sophisticated $100,000 drones, that utilize AI in the back end to do some of the building flight overviews that he does. I think the way you need to think about it is you probably won't lose your job to an AI. You could lose your job to somebody who has effectively learned how to use an AI. And that is if somebody is, learning how to effectively use these tools to do just-in-time knowledge, to do these, very innovative things that I'm talking about, they're going to have a leg up on you in the workforce. So I think it's implicit amongst ourselves to do everything we can, to learn everything we can, to ingest knowledge as to what's going on here. And that's why, I think mastering ChatGPT, this is like, learning search engines back in the day. If we can How do we effectively use ChatGPT as, what I would call a personal knowledge butler? How can we have it as a tool that can go out and help us get this knowledge at the right time? How can it enhance our skills? How can we empower our workforce to use it while taking on the risk that comes with it? And we might talk a little bit about that. And what's happening within the industry as it moves forward so quickly.
Can you give us a few examples of what people can do with these remarkable tools?
Yeah, let's jump in. So here I am in ChatGPT 4, and again, this is a website. You can use the free version. You can subscribe to it. So I can do a couple of things. I can say to it, tell me a joke about a futurist. And what it does is it goes away with these trillions of parameters and thinks for a little bit and comes back with a response. Why did the futurist get kicked out of the time travel convention? He arrived too early. That's kind of lame. But let's get a little more serious. What I've done here is I have a very long construction video, and I spoke at a construction conference last week. And there is something called progressive design build. And this is a video that is 1 hour and 29 minutes long. I mean, who has time in their life to watch a video that is 1 hour and 29 minutes long? Well, ChatGPT, which is one of the AI models that is out there, has this fascinating capability of what is called plugins. And plugins are sort of extra code that is added to ChatGPT to do things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to set myself up, if I can do this right, to use a plugin that will let me have it watch the video. And this is always the joy of doing live presentations. I'm going to use what is called a video summary app. And this is some specialized computer code that someone has written that will watch the YouTube video on my behalf. So I'm going to say, ChatGPT, watch this video for me. Provide me a list of the 10 key things I can learn from the video and an action plan of 20 steps I could pursue. And I merely give it the URL, the link of the YouTube video, and presuming everything is working here correctly, what's going to happen, what's happening in the background right now, is this AI is going off, it's grabbing that YouTube video and saying, okay, here's a little summary. I'll summarize it for you because you don't have any time in your life. You're busy with a whole bunch of stuff. So it's using this video summary. And look at this. Here's a summary of 10 key things you can learn from the video. The importance of time management, setting clear goals, prioritization techniques. I mean, this is mind-boggling stuff. It has just gone off and looked at a 1 hour, 20-minute long video, and it's absolutely summarizing. So this goes to my point. If we can master the skills of learning how to use this for knowledge, there's something powerful here. Now, we need to understand that, ChatGPT is just one part of what's going on, but there's a lot of these plugins. So I can give you another example. We stop this one from generating, and I'm going to refresh the page here and do another one. So let's say you've got a long thing that you need to read, and if I change the plugin here again, I'm having a little bit of a struggle changing the plugin. There's one that lets us summarize a PDF, and since I'm not succeeding in pulling that up, there are other tools. And I'm going to lead you into this section of other tools. Here's one called Chat with Any PDF. So let's say I've got a long PDF document that has to do with, let's say, insurance. Who's got time to read an insurance document? Actually, here's a construction contract. It's a contract of hundreds of pages. And what I'm doing is I'm feeding it into this website called chatpdf.com, and I've loaded in the PDF, and I can now talk to the PDF. So tell me what this PDF is all about. And it's using the same large language model. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what we're referring to. Let's try another question here. What are the liability issues referred to in this contract? Hopefully I've got a good prompt there. The liability referred to in this contract includes any losses, damages, expensive, or costs that may be suffered by the city, yada, yada. Think about this. Suddenly we've got this, several hundred page long PDF, and we're using it, a tool, an AI large language model tool, to instantly do queries of it. Now, as I'm going to show you, there are hundreds, thousands of these little tools out there. And go back to my key point that this is all about just-in-time knowledge. There's a lot of other fascinating stuff that is emerging that is sort of related. And I'm going to go into something called PIM Eyes. This is a free search engine reverse image search. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to upload a picture of myself. And I think I've got one here on my desktop. So here's a picture of me on the beach the other day, and I'm going to upload it into this thing called PIM Eyes. And you're going to watch how quickly this is going to happen. It's going to go off. It's going to do a search based upon my face. It's now looking at the database. It's built of images from all over the internet. And in a matter of seconds, it said, I've got a lot of pictures of me out there on the internet. I speak all over the world. But in a matter of seconds, it's gone off and it's found thousands of images where I exist on websites, both good and bad. This is the type of thing being used by police forces. It can be used for nefarious purposes. This is an example of the type of fascinating thing that is going on out there. Here's another really cool example of what's happening with large language models. This is something occurring at the Google Robotics Lab. And what they've got is they've got a robot with an arm that can grab things. And they literally have used a large language model, just as we might prompt ChatGPT. They've asked the large language model, pick up the extinct animal. Now, this little robot has some machine vision built into it, and it's got some large language model stuff behind it, and it's figuring out the extinct robot is the dinosaur, and it's going and picking it up. Here's another example of a tool. I mean, there are so many of these tools that are emerging out here. Let's make a logo. So I got to get on the right screen here. Let's make a logo, and we want to make the logo name is Construction Company USA. We build good stuff. And we'll continue. And this is a text-to-image generator. And we'll say we're sort of in the technology space. And we want it to be a nice cold blue type of color scheme that is a little bit elegant, like what we see with BBC and Google and things like that. And we tell it generate. And what's happening here is, again, these large language models are using a lot of sophisticated stuff in the background to go off and do something pretty cool. And look at that. I mean, we've got a bunch of potential logos that we could choose from. The thing is, there's so many of these tools out here. This is a paraphrasing tool where I can type something in and it's going to come back and summarize it into 50 words or less. There's also powerful business tools. So for example, on my own website, I'm using something called commandbar.ai. And what this does is it's indexed my website. I've got about 4,000 blog posts on my site. And over on my website, I've got this little button up in the top right. And if you open that up, what you're actually doing is you're talking to an AI on my site. So I could ask it, what are Jim Carroll's thoughts on disruptive innovation? This is an example of where AI could be used as a customer support tool. You might have a lot of documents that you're preparing. Look at that, it's summarizing here. You could have a lot of documents that you're making available to your customer. You're trying to streamline customer support. You're trying to reduce some costs. We might see some things like this. There's a lot of free tools. So Perplexity Labs, this is a site that you can use to write computer code. So I might say I need a PHP script that is going to take, this is a little bit geeky here, take the feed from an RTSP camera and capture an image every minute. And it's going to say, cool, I can write that for you. Here's the code in something called Python. This is mind-boggling stuff. There's free image generator tools. So, draw me an image, an elephant. And by the way, we're going to have a handout after this, flying through the sky. Go and draw me a pretty picture of an elephant flying through the sky. We're going to have links to all these things so you can play around with them. What's happening here is a whole bunch of tech is, happening in the background to go on and, generate a picture of an elephant flying through the sky. A lot of the images I'm using in my presentation here today are coming from this tool. So I've got a whole bunch of these. We'll share them with you, and it's absolutely fascinating what is happening. And this is, again, what I think, what I call, this one's going a little slow here, what I call just-in-time knowledge. This is about developing new skills. It's like what we did when we mastered the search engines. We learned to effectively use these tools to enhance what it is we could do. We're only a couple of minutes away from our next bit of Q&A.
So how does one go about learning how to do all these types of things? I mean, all this stuff all seems a little bit overwhelming and intimidating. And I'm an AI, and if I am intimidated and overwhelmed, how does everyone else feel?
If you're intimidated, we're in big trouble. I go back to my point. You won't lose your job to an AI. You could lose your job to someone using an AI. And how do you master this? You dive in. Look, I found this site early on that was called AI Top Tools. And somebody was summarizing tools emerging on the internet that were based around AI. And they started out with 1,000 tools, and they had 2,000 tools, and they had 3,000. They've given up. They just have more than 10,000 tools. And I mean, just go in here. The only way to learn this stuff is to dive in and start using it. It's not like you're going to break anything. It's like when you got your first computer, your first phone, press buttons, make it go, play with it. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, I'm a futurist. I've been living and breathing this stuff for quite some time. There's so much of this going on. It is simply staggering. And again, we are going to give you a handout, at the end of this that will be accessible on the website for Enterprise University of some of the things I've shown you, places you can go to get a sense of what is going on. Let's continue going on, and I want to talk. Actually, a good moment for some Q&A, because I know a bunch of questions have come in. So let's dive into that and see what people are asking about.